There's something about IVE that I can't quite seem to put my finger on. This opening section doesn't have a real direction that you may come to expect from some of my other video essays. I'm sitting here at 2 o'clock in my room just putting my thoughts to the keyboard to truly convey what I want to say about this group. Because there's something about this group that is just so damn addictive to talk about. I've talked about them on multiple occasions. I admired their debut album, which I believe is one of the best of the year thus far. I have talked about their misrepresentation as a group and why I believe they are overhated. And I even talk about why I love Afterlike's music video in a long forgotten video months ago. All this being said, I wouldn't consider myself a stan. I don't often watch their variety show content or comeback shows, and I don't own any merch, yet I would air out my wallet to see them live if they came near me on a tour. And why is that? What makes me want to sit down and type out an entire essay about their oddly charming mystique? I'm asking myself this as I type it out because I don't know why. But we're here, so we might as well talk about why IVE are so alluring. Before we begin, I believe it is important to define what allure means. According to Oxford Languages, allure means the quality of being powerfully and mysteriously attractive or fascinating. The mysterious charm of something or someone. This can be applied to plenty of different situations. I'll bring up an example from my personal life. In the morning after math class, every single day, a few semesters ago in college, I would head to Starbucks because, of course, I need my coffee. And one time I walked in and there was this very attractive woman there. And I hadn't recognized her, I'd never seen her before on campus, but there was something about her that was so alluring. The way she was able to command the room's attention, like everyone was just staring at her because she was very beautiful. To the point where it was actually kind of intimidating, I couldn't even talk to her, I was just standing there. To be alluring is to have a charm that is somewhat unexplainable. You could maybe identify some different characteristics that person or that thing has to make it seem very desirable or charming. There's always that quality that you can't quite pin down, and I think IVE have that quality as a K-pop group. I do believe it is important to attempt to identify IVE's concept. And I do believe IVE have one concept that really stands out, which is the fact that they are very posh. To be posh is to be stylishly luxurious. Elegant in a way. And I do think that IVE, through a lot of these music videos especially, are luxurious. And I know plenty of different idols wear very expensive outfits in their music videos in front of incredible sets, but IVE is a little different in the way they portray this. I can just off of the top of my head, this part is not scripted at all, recall various moments in music videos where they would be wearing specific outfits that gave off a posh vibe. Like in 11, they wore these kind of white suit-esque outfits during some of the dancing sequences in that music video. I remember that Wonyoung was wearing this like kind of crystal tiara garment on her head, and Yujin was wearing this kind of like shorter black dress. She looked very dressed up in Love Dive. That one is a little bit more low-key on the posh concept. It's actually a kind of a different concept that I'll talk about in a little bit, but they had a dance scene at the end during the dance break where it was just very sparkly and shiny with all the glitter they used on the floor and the matching outfits they had with a lot of like white and gray and black accents. Afterlike was similar to 11. They wore these uniform white outfits at one point as well. They were color-coded with these different bracelets. I believe they had necklaces on as well that were also color-coded because the music video revolved around these individual B-roll shots with different color coordination. But Afterlike also had that big fireworks showcase at the end, which was all done in-house, which was very impressive. It was the reason why I love that music video so much. And then there's I Am, which both the music video and the song itself are kind of embracing the posh nature of the group, right? The entire music video has them adorned in these black and white outfits. They dance in this elegant dining hall area and on a plane's wing and on a runway. We can see them holding trophies, and there's lots of silvers and golds and again black and white. Even recently in their Wave music video, their new Japanese release, very good song. They got those plain white tennis outfits on. IVE naturally, through their music videos, give off a very posh, luxurious vibe. And in K-pop, there are plenty of groups, like I said earlier, that use expensive sets and elaborate clothing, but there aren't a lot of groups that really embrace the posh concept, because I guess some people can kind of almost see it as kind of mean in nature. It's rare to find someone that likes it when people flex their wealth and their attractiveness. It comes off as being very mean-spirited, narcissistic in nature, and I feel like this could potentially be a reason why companies try to tiptoe around the fact that they use $1,000 jackets on their idols or give them brand new Jordans. In fact, a lot of companies today seem like they want to make their groups feel more homegrown and natural, giving them more down-to-earth concepts and looks, right? But Starship recognize that they have an idol like Wonyoung and Yujin in their group, people who have already had pre-established fame, popularity. They recognize that Wonyoung was the center at one point in IZ*ONE, who is seen by the majority of the public as being this very attractive individual, and they realize, hey, we can really push this posh concept because we have the puzzle pieces to do so. And I believe the posh concept is more visual in nature than musical. I think they have had a good variety of music, especially on their recent album. You know, songs like Hypnosis and Heroin and I Am, they're not the same. They don't follow this posh concept. Posh is more of a visual concept rather than a musical one. It almost feels as if IVE is pushed as being a group that is rich. They're the cool girls at school that you couldn't sit at the same lunch table with because you weren't in their clique. In a way, this posh concept makes them feel unobtainable to the average listener or viewer, which is in direct contrast to what a lot of the K-pop industry tries to push. It tries to push relatability and comfort and parasocial relationships. But instead, it feels like IVE is marketed in a way as that they are very rich, shiny, luxurious, and you can't have them. And I do believe this is exclusively for their music video presence, because they do variety content like any other group. They're not some sort of different K-pop group, and that means there are two music videos in particular in which IVE pushes this very Siren-esque concept, that being primarily in Love Dive and Kitsch. And I'll get around to Kitsch because maybe that one doesn't seem as apparent at first, but Love Dive definitely. Now, Love Dive as a song and as a concept itself is based off of Narcissus. The origin of narcissism comes from the Greek god Narcissus, who drowned because he fell into a pond after being entranced by his own reflection. Part of the point choreo in this song also looks like they're kind of looking at themselves in a mirror. Now, there was a paper written by Gilly Stifel and Ralph Holtum, hopefully I'm pronouncing those names correctly, called Beware the Song of the Sirens, Reflections on the Seductive Face of Narcissism. And I'm going to quickly read to you an abstract of this paper because I really love how it connects sirens and narcissism together. Quote, "In the classical perception of narcissism, total disregard is shown for the others, with the narcissist taking himself or his own reflection as his only object. Yet we also encounter the obverse position where the narcissist seems to be seeking relatedness by making seductive efforts to attract others into collusion with their needs. This has not been widely discussed, but we believe it represents a major division of narcissism, with the classical disregard of others being replaced by a seductive drive for their subversion. This strategy is represented by the myth of the sirens who, by the beauty of their song, lured sailors to forget their own lives and ultimately fall into their destruction." I randomly stumbled across this paper when doing research for this video because I wanted to tie narcissism and sirens together, because I believe IVE have this very Siren-esque concept, specifically with this song and with Kitsch, by the way that they shoot the music video and present themselves in the song. As before, the mantra of the cool kid or the cool girl kind of returns. We see that with some of the outfits they wear in both of these music videos. I believe they wear kind of a student uniform-esque outfit in Love Dive, and they also do it in Kitsch, but they add that kind of cool almost Leatherman jacket kind of style on top of it. And at first I was going to put Kitsch into its own category when it came to its concept because it was a little different than Love Dive, but they were both shot in scarily similar ways. Specifically, the filters and lighting effects they use some shots that are very hazy in nature, almost feel like they have a blur over the camera lens or some parts of the atmosphere in order to capture this very mysterious vibe. When I watched Kitsch for the first time in the music video, it actually reminded me of Love Dive because of this reason. In Love Dive, the point choreo where they're looking at the mirror, which is their hand, and then they quickly turn their gaze towards you, is very haunting and almost seductive in nature. And I even noticed in the production elements of a few of their songs, it's very similar, in which some of their music has a very hypnotic quality to it. Obviously, I can bring up literally Hypnosis, the song, and the way they sing it. But I noticed there was lots of chants and ad-libs that reminded me of like a Siren song in some of their music, specifically 11, Love Dive, and even their most recent release, Wave. In 11, in the second chorus, they kind of add this extra element to the song, and there's these kind of wails or chants in the background.
You make me feel like 11.
In Love Dive, it's the, and this is just going to sound weird by me saying it, it's the long oohs. And that sounded weird. And then it takes a break for a little while, but in Wave, it happens in the second part of the chorus as well, later into the song, where you have these kind of long, drawn-out notes. I mean, even in the music video, they add this kind of after image effect to Gal. And it is really hard to talk about how a group is Sirenesque without bringing up the word allure, because that is essentially the main gimmick of what a siren does in Greek mythology, which is sing this song which entices sailors to leave their boats to essentially swim to their demise. There's this alluring feel behind what a siren is, and I believe a lot of that is displayed specifically in Love Dive mainly, but there's also traits of it in Kitsch and even a little bit at the end of Wave. They exude this energy and this confidence that is kind of different than a Le Sserafim confidence. Le Sserafim's confidence is very broad, in your face, while IVE's seems to be a little bit more low-key in nature. It's more of like the way Yujin is looking at you on camera, or the way Wonyoung does something on screen. In Love Dive specifically, there's something so mysterious about them, right? The camera is constantly panning away from them, or out of focus in other areas. It adds a slight tension to the music video, but it also gives it this very hypnotic quality. While I do believe this very luxurious, posh look is their leading concept, I also think that this very mystique, siren-esque kind of concept they've got going on mainly in Love Dive, but even some production choices on songs like 11, Love Dive, Wave, Hypnosis, adds this mysterious sound to their music, which makes me keep coming back and listening to it. After I listen to Love Dive, it's like, oh, I need to listen to it again. I thought I missed something. Music that is able to keep you invested like that, coming back for more, is always very high quality music. And that is why Love Dive in part was my favorite song of 2022. And in part, what makes IVE's music very hypnotic in nature also adds to their alluring quality. IVE are comprised of 6 members, that being Wonyoung, Ray, Yujin, Liso, Gal, and Liz. You can't talk about IVE without mentioning Wonyoung or Yujin's names. They were part of IZ*ONE and are both a massive factor in IVE's instant success. If IVE had the same discography they have now, but didn't have Wonyoung or Yujin part of their lineup, they wouldn't even be a fraction as popular as they are now. That's not me trying to downplay the contributions of the other members, they are all very talented, but that's kind of just how pre-established popularity works. With IVE being arguably the most popular 4th generation girl group right now, you would think they would be under a company like JYP, YG, SM, or even HYBE. But that is not the case, they're under Starship of all companies. And don't get me wrong, their popularity has surely grown because of their high quality music, but it's mainly because of the spotlight that is constantly put on the group because Wonyoung is part of it. I do think that Wonyoung is the true it girl of the 4th generation. If I were to pick one it girl, it would have to be her. Whichever group that you throw Wonyoung into, it's going to attract popularity. Just like how if you threw Giannis Antetokounmpo onto any NBA team, it would attract a lot of attention. Wonyoung's image is very regal, defined, posh. If you go to her Instagram right now, she looks like more of a walking advert for fashion companies rather than an idol. And to see IVE make a song like I Am, which just screams Wonyoung to me, means that Starship is very self-aware of the posh nature that they have and are now starting to play into it. From my point of view, it's a very smart marketing move by the company. It gives IVE an identifiable image while also pumping out some really good music. I've seen plenty of people say that IVE is just Wonyoung and Yujin and friends, that they have coworker energy, and those people can really say whatever they want, but the marketing strategy from Starship to present Wonyoung as this face of the group is working. It's pulling in sale numbers. Their Afterlight comeback sold a total of 1.7 million copies. Their I Am full-length album is currently sitting at 1.5 million. And IVE are constantly talked about in the K-pop scene. I do believe this also contributes to the alluring nature of the group. People are constantly interested in them because something is constantly happening with them, even if not all of it is good attention. As we come to the conclusion of this video, some may still be wondering what I mean by IVE being alluring. They're essentially a group that has this very magnetic pull to them. And I do believe it's a combination of little things which I have gone over in this video, but the nature of something being alluring isn't necessarily explainable. Sometimes it's just a feeling or a sensation. Personally, IVE is very alluring to me because of their interesting concepts, production quality behind a lot of their title tracks, and the members themselves. All of these things add up to make you want to come back and listen to their music, watch their performances. And while IVE has not mastered this skill yet, they're one of few 4th generation girl groups that I think have the ability to be very alluring. I Am was a big stepping stone for the group because not only was it their first album period, it was also a comeback that essentially told everyone that they are aware that they are a very posh, luxuriously branded group, and they don't necessarily care what the community thinks about that. But now, since Starship essentially revealed that to everyone, they're going to have to move in a new direction. I think making another comeback that has narrative depth like Love Dive would be very interesting. Love Dive's Greek mythology inspiration and lore is something I can make a whole video on itself. I very briefly covered it in this video for sake of time, but I would really love for Starship to go back to that route and make another comeback with that kind of narrative pull. Liz from recently came out with a song called Eve, Psyche, and the Bluebeard's Wife, which is just chock full of lore from different mythologies. Storytelling using mythologies is not a foreign concept in K-pop, especially the Greek mythology, but I would like to see more groups tap into that because there is a lot in the Greek mythos that would be really fun to explore. And I hope that IVE could potentially dip their toe into that pond once again because I really loved Love Dive. It's my favorite song from them. It's my favorite song of 2022, not just because it's a great song in general, but because of the mythology driving it. It's very interesting. If you can get me to sit down and look at the mythology that your song is based off of, you're doing something right, and I hope that IVE and Starship tap back into that. IVE is very alluring as a group because they make music in which you can peel back layers like an onion. Like on the surface, Afterlight and 11, Love Dive, and I Am are just very basic pop songs, but you can peel back the layers to reveal some different meanings behind the imagery present in the music videos and some of the lyricism as well. Even on this latest album, we got to see some songwriting ability from Wonyoung and Yujin, as well as Gal and Ray writing their own rap verses. IVE IVE are a much more talented group than people give them credit for. They have Liz, who is an amazing vocalist, 2 sub-rappers that play their part well. You have a great center in Wonyoung. Liso shocked me recently with how good of a vocalist she is, and Yujin is just Yujin. She's a stage presence queen. I wanted to make this video in part to see if anyone else kind of had similar feelings about the group that I do. I've never really been a DIVE or a huge IVE stan. I don't even own any of their albums or their merch, but I would be willing to pay good money to go see them live, as I mentioned earlier. And yes, that's because they make very good music, but it's also because they have this distinct charm with the group that I can't quite put my finger on. Like for Le Sserafim, it's very easy for me to identify why I like the group so much. They have really good chemistry, they're really funny off stage, but they also make really good music and have great stage presence. They're kind of just the all-around great group. Le Sserafim don't have some sort of hidden allure that I really love about them. Everything that I like about them is easily explainable. But with IVE, it's like I can't explain why I like them so much. I know it's a very vague way to explain things, but it's the best I can do. I don't typically speak during this section, however I wanted to inform people that the August D video I will be making is going to be very long. It's going to be easily over an hour, so that's going to take a very long time to edit and put together. I still don't have a timetable on when that's coming out. It could be as early as a couple weeks or even as late as 1 to 2 months. To quote that old guy from Toy Story 2.
So, how long is this gonna take?
You can't rush art.
And I don't want to rush the August D project at all, so I may make a few videos in the meantime of that coming out, but there's not going to be a ton. I do need to slow down my video output. I'm in school now, I have stuff to do. Hopefully you guys can bear with me, but yeah, hopefully you guys have a good one, and I will see you guys in my next essay video.